wackiest comedy, not starring Jim Carrey.
Coronation Street, a story of life, love.
First of all, I thought it would run for a few weeks. Never in my wildest dreams, I think it would run for 25 years.
We all got on so well. It was like a family right from the start.
Hello, and welcome to one of the most famous pubs in the country, Emmerdale's Woolpack, where, believe it or not, pints have been pulled for the past 25 years. And incidentally, it is real beer that comes out of these taps, and when Emmerdale first started, a pint like this would have cost the princely sum of 16p, or as it was in those days, 3 and 3pence. Well, during the next half hour, I'll be inviting you to indulge in some more nostalgia as we look back at what has become the second longest running drama serial and indeed one of the most popular on British television. We'll be going behind the scenes to see how the stories are created.
He's got a history of heart problems. Heart attack.
We'll be discovering the secret of some of those spectacular stunts that have featured over the years. And we'll be meeting some of Emmerdale's most avid fans.
As soon as you mention the word Emmerdale, I don't know, it just does something to my blood.
The very first episode went out in 1972, at which time Richard Nixon was president of the USA, which was still involved in the Vietnam War. Britain had just agreed to join the EEC, and the Cod War was at its height. And in October that year, the story of Emmerdale began.
No sign of him, then? You should know better than expecting. But he ought to be here for his dad's funeral. In you get, Grandad. Take it slow. I don't want Jacob bumped about on his last ride.
Oh, the first scripts were absolutely wonderful. I showed them to my husband and he said, "This is great, you've got to do this. It'll go down in history."
Right, ready, at speed, stand by.
For 25 years, much of Emmerdale has been shot in the Yorkshire village of Eschles. Although this year, because of the increasing problems caused by tourists and sightseers, Emmerdale's own purpose-built village is being created at Harewood on the outskirts of Leeds, testament to a popularity which no one had expected when the series first began.
And cut.
Emmerdale Farm was designed to be a lunchtime show. I think it was always thought of as a sort of television version of the Archers. And they wanted something for lunchtimes. And that's how it started. It was originally for 13 weeks, and here we are 25 years later.
I think Toke put it rather well when he said a woman had come up to him and said, "I love Emmerdale." She said, "It's life as it should be, not as it is."
Emmerdale's got the countryside, which a lot of soaps don't have. They just have cobbled streets and pubs, that's it. Emmerdale's always had the countryside, which is a big, big plus. It's got the humour as well. And it's also got the drama.
Television's about pictures, and Emmerdale has that behind us that's not painted on cardboard. It's there for real, and people know it is. That's one thing. It gets them out into the countryside by watching the telly. I think the other thing is good scripts, and the other thing is good characters. Once you get that combination going along, I think you've got something then.
Some of the scenes I remember most were with Toke, Sam.
Annie, I think Mr. Potter'd see the funny side of it. I can't say that I wouldn't have been tempted to do the same thing myself.
There you are, you see, Annie.
A joke's a joke. But you had plenty of opportunity of telling Henry, and you didn't.
How was I to...
You let Henry make a complete fool of himself. And Mr. Potter, too.
I have a great affection for Annie. I think she's a much wiser person than I am. She's much more in control than I am. I've got a bad temper. I suppose Annie had, really, because she used to get angry with people, but it wasn't temper, it was just putting them in their place, you know.
How How was I to know that Henry were going to telephone newspaper? That were naught to do with me.
It was everything to do with you. You can get yourself down to Mr. Potter and tell him what you've done.
I was either angry with him or we had lovely, touching scenes. And he was a marvellous actor to play with, and we got a lot from each other.
Annie, Sheila, of course, was the mother of the company off screen and on screen. She mothered all the young actors and actresses, and she had this great mother figure about her, which was one of the kingpins of the series, of course.
Jacob and me had 30 good years together. I can't grumble.
Yeah, but he weren't an old man. I was sorry to see him go.
I dare say. What about your best customer?
When I came into the series, the only actor I knew personally, although I'd never worked with him, was Arthur Fentler. And that's my dearest memory of Emmerdale, the double act with Arthur, of course. Although he was very fond of Wilkes, he would never let him know, of course, until the very last episode when Amos left the pub and they had a hug. But that was the first time he'd ever suggested that Mr. Wilkes was anything but a business partner, you know.
Oh, come here, you silly old fool.
The scene that I hated the most was Arthur's funeral, because he was already, of course, dead in real life by then, and we, quite rightly so, didn't go to his funeral because Jackie, his wife, wanted to keep it private. So we hadn't even had the memorial service, and there I was having to do the scene in the church to this empty coffin and everything, and knowing that the real person was dead, and I found that very difficult to do.
A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together. A time for war and a time for peace.
The character of Henry Wilkes was, believe it or not, just one of 38 who've died in Emmerdale over the past 25 years in an amazing variety of ways, including 5 car crashes, 3 suicides, 5 heart attacks, 1 rampaging bull, 1 falling tree and 2 murders. Not to mention the 4 killed in the infamous plane crash. Who said country life was quiet? One of the latest deaths to hit the village was, of course, Frank Tate, who died of a heart attack. Well, he could just as easily have been run down by a rampaging bull or even abducted by aliens. It all depends on the decisions taken at the script conference.
Right. What does he die of? Is it a heart attack, or do they have a fight? Does he hit her with something?
She disappears after this.
Yeah.
And then comes back.
Nobody knows she's been. Apart from Frank, and he's not going to be around to tell anybody.
So is there some sort of mystery to his death, or do we just want it straightforward?
I think it's better because of the other complications that we've got to deal with. That is straightforward.
So he's got a history of heart problems.
Yeah.
Heart attack.
Yeah. At the top of this episode, 2212, he's been found. Zoe's found, that's right. And Kim has returned for the 2nd time.
Yeah, is she coming back as this grieving widow, and, you know, we're supposed to believe that she's sincere? And
I don't think the village will believe the grieving widow. All they have witnessed is acrimony between Frank and Kim.
I don't think anybody would quite believe how little we can start with. But when you've got a room full of, hopefully, creative people like that, that we spark ideas off each other. But at the end of the day, I don't think it matters to any of us who comes up with the right story, if there is any such thing, or whose view prevails. It's when we get the next block of episodes and we look at what we're writing, we think, oh, great, that really works. I'm looking forward to doing this. Or the other side of it is you look at something and think, how am I going to make this work? I never believed in it anyway.
If she's driven through the village at high speed in a police car and somebody gets a glimpse of,
Yeah,
you know,
the blonde,
Who the hell was that?
And
You
then
know.
they start digging at her grave plot.
We care about the characters. We do genuinely care. I won't say they're real people to us, but yeah, I suppose they've got to be. If we don't treat them as real people, then we lose sight of all aspects of their characters. So we're arguing then about people that we know and care about.
Whatever the structure of those final scenes is they honour that character and they say goodbye to him in a fantastic way. It's not a showcase, but it's like his finest moment, and he goes out with dignity, and then we're left with the bitch in charge.
And what a hell of a way to bring her back in, actually. You know, you know, the king is dead, long live the queen.
Over the years, around this table have come ideas for some spectacular stunts, but probably a few quite as spectacular or as controversial as the night a plane crashed onto the village.
We had 16 nights filming. That is a massive amount for special effects. It was feature film type stuff. Some of the equipment we were using was the type of equipment that was used in Backdraft, the big fire film that was done in California. The opening shot was the fireball coming out of the sky and striking a stable, and we built a fireball, which was a hollow steel structure. And the whole thing, the crane was set up so that the hook, which was 200 feet in the air, was directly over the stable door. And when it was ignited, it was released just by cutting a wire so it swings into shot. And we can absolutely guarantee that it will hit the stable door.
It was harrowing to film because people were dying. Characters you knew and loved in the show, they were dying. You were covered in blood in a car crash, my character.
There were some very strong scenes, and Frank got very upset. So I found those scenes very harrowing, but very rewarding as an actor to play them.
At the time, the press weren't too kind to us. And I've always said if we'd been sort of The Street or some other soap, we might have got a special BAFTA award because it was damn good. The pyrotechnics, the acting, the filming, the money that was spent on it, you felt like you were making a first feature film, not a TV thing.
Soaps work on the minutiae of the stories working through and the way that characters deal with perhaps very familiar situations that we all experience in life, birth, marriages, deaths, but in that particular way for that character under those circumstances.
It makes a nice change from sort of milking cows and dipping sheep.
Well, one of the biggest changes in Emmerdale in recent years has been the introduction of much more controversial storylines than sheep dipping and so on, including the first ever lesbian relationship in a British soap. We'll be finding out more about that in a minute, and also meeting some of Emmerdale's biggest fans. See you in part 2.
Light, fresh, Nivea Visage moisturising fluid. Feels great on my face. It's oil-free and easily absorbed. A cool, gentle sensation that softens and refreshes my skin, and I love it.
Nivea Visage oil-free moisturising fluid. The lighter, fresher feeling.
If you save for a personal pension with Prudential, when you reach retirement age, you could take some of it as a lump sum. So as well as enjoying a safe, regular income, you might even have a little mad money. I'm Peter Davis, head of Prudential, and part of my job is to keep your dreams alive.
Peter Davis, the man from the Pru.
Nivea Visage oil-free moisturising fluid. I love it. How about you?
The lighter, fresher feeling.
And welcome back to the Woolpack and our silver celebration of 25 years of Emmerdale. Now, this bar is one of 18 Emmerdale sets that have been specially built in this vast studio. an area which covers a total of 25,000 square feet. Actually, I can walk out of the Woolpack and within just a few paces, I'm in the Tate family kitchen in Home Farm, although you'd never know it if you watched the programme. Now, this whole complex is the largest single-floor television studio anywhere in the world. And as befits such a prestigious centre, it was formally opened in January this year by the then Prime Minister, John Major.
I'd just like to say thank you from everyone from Emmerdale, and there's a little present for you to take.
Oh, Lisa, well, thank you very much indeed.
Okay.
That's splendid.
Melandra has the distinction of being married an awful lot of men in the series.
Men avoid me like the plague, because I kill them all off. So if you run away very quickly, I won't be
People
surprised.
understand. So how many husbands so far?
Oh, I think it's 3 so far.
We even have our own lottery machine, actually, which is quite funny, because it is, you can actually put a ticket in it.
So it's not connected up, is it?
Well, it doesn't actually go through to the main office. But
No, I think that does work, yeah. I don't think it's on, actually. Oh, it is, yes.
Very
There,
good.
answer.
Thank you very much. It's bigger than I thought.
Really?
Yes. Yes, I mean the sets are bigger and more substantial.
Really?
I assume. Yes.
It's all real.
It's paper mache, yes.
They've just moved out in there.
Dan Richards. Good morning. Yes. How do you do?
So
good to see you.
Sorry I can't offer you a real cake and a cup of tea, but the kettle hasn't boiled.
Not real.
Well, of course they are. Everything's real in Emmerdale.
Of course.
I think by a country mile, British television is the best I've seen anywhere in the world. And I think the success that you've had here with Emmerdale is a classic illustration of that.
The morning after the night before, the champagne has been cleared and the work begins.
Good morning. First day of a brand new era.
It's a huge step for us for the whole show, you know, because we've got, you know, our own studio now. We're on one floor. There's a huge amount of space here. It's like a real studio. And I love the mill. I mean, I love the mill, but there were things that were wrong. You know, the noise was a real problem for us there because you could hear planes and you could hear cars and things, you know. So it wasn't really soundproof. But this is absolutely marvelous. It's like coming into a real studio. Yeah.
Well, this is the first scene, first words, first use of all the equipment, first things to go wrong if it does. But no, they tested the equipment yesterday, so we've got no worries. But no, it's very exciting because it just brings the studio bang up to date. With going to 3 episodes a week, you need to be top notch, and this is.
I'm not going to
Let's Daddy have him in then.
Let's hope it doesn't strobe.
Yeah. Used to it. He is in the business.
What? The can't strobe them.
Okay. Let's go. For a take, please. Okay, Norman.
Yep.
Let's go while Samuel's behaving.
That's Butch, isn't it?
Yeah. Can you imagine whispering a name like that in a moment of passion?
No. No, I can't.
Well, that's a good start to the year.
You mean you slept through?
Oh, no, not that. Mummy's gone, hasn't she? Packed her bags and fled into the night.
Cut. Onwards. Well done, Samuel. Breakfast time.
Just on Mummy.
Emmerdale is the only British soap to have an official fan club of its own. And an increasing number of people now attend special weekends to find out just what goes on behind the scenes.
How we actually put it all together, because we still work on what we call a block, but that is now 6 episodes.
It's all age groups that come on the tours now. It was all older people, wasn't it, to start with when we first did the tours, and it's amazing how it's changed. There's some people that have been on a tour about 17, 18 times, would you say? Yeah.
And they still come back and they still take the photographs and take the videos, and they keep them in albums and things, and they really do like them, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
Well, this is the 16th one I've been on, so I'm quite used to these. I've been on all of them since the very first one, which was 7 years ago. As soon as you mention the word Emmerdale, I don't know, it just does something to my blood. I don't know what. Just sort of makes you tingle.
it's just you get to know the characters and you start, I mean, you might be away thinking, oh, a sad person, you're watching Emmerdale and you're going on an Emmerdale weekend, but it's like a life, they become your friends.
The weekends are tremendously successful because they go out on location, they visit the studios, they can see how the programme is made, meet the people who actually make the programme, and the icing on top of the cake is meeting the cast.
It's on there.
Try again.
All right, thanks.
My lady comes from Cambridge, who would you go?
You're enjoying this, aren't you?
Of course I am. What aging chap wouldn't?
It's a very nice night. It's like meeting old friends. It's a bit unique. I don't think any other soap does things like this, but we enjoy it. Yeah.
Kiss as well.
Of course you can, Matt.
Thank you. Thank you.
Lovely to meet you. See you.
You strumpet. I'm going to be here and please, yeah, I'm going to kiss her. Can I cry?
Was that best attachment with Gene Rogers? He used to play Dolly. I haven't seen her for years.
They are a very good judge of the show, and you can get a lot of feedback from those sort of fans because they are genuinely involved with the show and the characters, and they'll tell you what they like and what they don't like, and I think that's healthy.
Like all soaps, Emmerdale has reflected the society that watches it, which means that over the years it has tackled some controversial issues.
Emmerdale has never been frightened of issues. I mean, we were the first of the British soaps to have a lesbian character, Zoe Tate, and it was introduced with some delicacy and very carefully, not gratuitously and not for sensationalism.
We had about half a dozen scenes, extremely well-written scenes, and it was a great pleasure to work with Leah, who plays Zoe, and the two of us, I think, worked very well on those scenes.
What are you telling me?
You know what I'm telling you.
You can't be one of those.
It was a very intelligent way of doing it, and I enjoyed those. I think they were very good scenes, personally.
When Emmerdale first began, there were only 9 regular characters. Today, there are more than 30. As in any community, over the years, characters have gone and new ones have come, including in 1994, the family that's given Emmerdale a new dimension, the Dingles.
Does thing happen often around here?
Not to the likes of us, it doesn't. Whoever's done this doesn't know what they've taken on.
The Dingles are obviously a major part of the programme's success, but I don't want to single them out because everybody who's in the cast at the moment is contributing towards that success.
Butch, Marlon, go and tow the silly cow in.
But they provide the great knockabout humour. They make all of us feel superior, and that's always a very important role in a soap. And the great thing is that they can do those comic stories out here in the real world, in the real village and in the streets and dales of Yorkshire. They've got room for big jokes.
No, but in that scene, we've got to find ourselves.
Yeah.
Yes.
I need to find some depth.
What does it mean to you as a dingle that Butch would actually have a deep significance?
The introduction of characters like the Dingles is just one sign of how much the series has changed since that very first episode 25 years ago.
I mean, after this, you've divulged these deep feelings. I think Zach would hit you across the head.
It's changed enormously in the last 7.5 years that I've been in it. But when you think about the days when, you know, sheep dipping was the drama of the series, which was great. I mean, I'm a great lover of the country, so I liked all that, you know, but you know, the audiences, young audiences especially, need something else, you know, and you have to remember your young audiences. So you have to you have to bring your soaps up to date, otherwise you get left behind.
It's no good putting on what the next door neighbours are doing. You can go and watch that every day for 24 hours. What you have to do, you look at what the neighbours are doing and the people in your village are doing, and then you extend it just slightly. We don't really want to watch real life because we put the telly on to be entertained.
1997 is the 25th anniversary of Emmerdale, and it's just fantastically appropriate that in exactly that year the demand is for extra episodes of Emmerdale, from 2 to 3, and we get the new studio, which is a wonderful modern production centre, and now, to cap it all, in the same year, our own purpose-built village. So somehow, in its 25th year, Emmerdale has really, really come of age.
Coming up next, a dog goes missing and so does its owner. The Bill investigate.